challenging week. But to seal the deal, he now has to hold off Danny Dollars. Could this still go very wrong for the Eagles? And the future is finally here for the Cowboys and their embattled coach. Will Sunday be Jason's last stand? Answers to those and other questions on this Christmas Eve edition of Get Up on ESPN from New York. D. Wood is here. A little bit later, we may have a little fun on this holiday with our buddy here in Laura and Orlovsky. We are ready to go. As last night we saw Aaron put on a show, but not the Aaron you were expecting. Packers, Vikings, Monday Night Football, the last Monday night game of the year, and a huge one, Dan Orlovsky, for that man. Kirk Cousins, we all know, winless in his Monday night history, and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had not thrown an interception in his last 277 attempts.
It's a really good play by the safety, Anthony Harris. It's quarters coverage. He's going to see Davante Adams on that crossing route, means he can undercut it. Great anticipation by the safety.
The game is 3-3, and the Vikings on the ensuing drive have a chance to capitalize, and they do to Stephon Diggs.
This is an absolute pearl by Kirk Cousins. Just up over the top on third down on the fade route in the red zone. Beautiful throw by Kirk Cousins.
Final minute of the half. Packers down 10-6, and Rodgers starts to get hot.
And good little pocket movement by Rodgers here, making sure that lets Jimmy Graham cross the formation on that shallow cross and good ball placement. And then he shoots the ball out to Davante Adams for a quick flat route here. Big game.
And it puts them in a position where they can go for a touchdown quickly as he gets out of bounds before they have to try for the field goal. And this should be a touchdown on the route to Adams.
Yeah, first of all, a little short motion up top, and you're going to see Adams one-on-one in the quick out route. This is not a good throw by Aaron Rodgers. We always see that ball out in front by Aaron Rodgers. He knows it. Now, at the end of the day, you expect the all-pro Davante Adams to make that catch on his hip.
Vikes have a 10-9 lead at halftime, but then the second half belonged to Zadarius Smith.
Man, Zadarius Smith had a night, but it was all because the different places they put him. Sometimes outside, sometimes inside, where you can get skinny and whoop a double team. He was big time for the Packers defense.
He had 3.5 sacks on the night. The Vikings had only 7 first downs in this game, and this one here, what's he doing here?
Well, he doesn't see the backside corner. King get this interception. The safety cuts the crosser. King goes back to the middle of the field to replace that safety. Kirk Cousins never saw it, and then you see some athleticism after that interception.
But I told you the night would belong to Aaron as the defense celebrates, hands it over to their running back, and Aaron Jones owned the rest of the night.
Yeah, I love it. It's a bunch set. They go outside on a perimeter run, bring somebody back across the formation, free some of those defenders. Really good vision.
He would go for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Here comes the second as the Packers pull away.
And now they use jet motion to get those second-level defenders, the linebacker, to play just a little bit slow. And then you saw great vision and patience by Aaron Jones and speed down the sidelines.
23-10 your final. The Packers win it on the road. They have not lost a game in the division all year, and they are the champions of the NFC North.
To be back on top of the North after a couple years being down feels great. To win in this stadium. You know, where a couple years ago I was jeered leaving the field after breaking my collarbone. Feels pretty good.
I'm not going to get into this Kirk Cousins on Monday night thing and all this stuff. Offensively, we didn't play as well as we can play. I'll just say that.
Okay, so the Packers, with that game, have played 9 games this year against teams with winning records, and that is their mark in them. The best record of any team in the NFL this year, and it's a big reason why they are in play for the #1 seed in the NFC. And so, Damian Woody, as you watch them play and you watch what appears to be not Aaron Rodgers at his absolute apex, but still some magic moments and a defense that is getting after the quarterback and Aaron Jones running it. Just how good are the Green Bay Packers?
The Green Bay Packers are scary because the one aspect of their team that's kind of the unknown is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been more of a complimentary guy than the Aaron Rodgers that we've been accustomed to in the past. I mean, we saw some throws last night that were off target, and you're sitting there thinking, wow, this is not the Aaron Rodgers that is universally talked about as one of the best, or maybe the best quarterback in the National Football League. And I think the scary part of it is if Aaron Rodgers gets hot, to go along with the Green Bay Packers defense and Aaron Jones rushing the football, this team could absolutely find its way into the Super Bowl.
Dan, why is Aaron Rodgers missing some of these throws that he wouldn't have in the past?
Yeah, it's the story the last 2 months. It's just 4 plays a game of just close misses. Now, it's a little bit of Aaron Rodgers' he's never been the fundamental technician that we know of Tom Brady or Drew Brees, right? And as he's gotten older, some of those fundamentals have forced some misses. Then there's some miscommunication between him and some of the receivers. And then there's just some missed throws. There's different location. He expects a guy to be somewhere and the guy's not there, or Aaron just misses it. This is rare for Aaron Rodgers and this offense. And so there's drops, there's a missed throw, there's a drop by a receiver, there's a miscommunication. But this has been the story for 2 months. And to D. Wood's point, the Packers are a good team. They have the potential to be a dominant team. They have the potential to be the top dog in the NFC. And I know that's saying a lot because we saw the graphic. They're 8-1 against really good teams. They're 12-3. If they connect on 4 more plays a game, they're not winning games. They're dragging people. They're whooping teams. And that's got to be at least a little bit getting your attention if you're the NFC. At the end of the day, they got to make the plays because they haven't for 2 months, but they're there to be made.
If you're looking at the big teams in the NFC, let's say Seattle, pardon me, has fallen a little bit off by the wayside. If you're looking at New Orleans, Green Bay, and San Francisco, here's the first thought I have. You say you want Aaron Rodgers to get hot? I think he's better off if it's cold, really cold, meaning he needs that game at Lambeau Field and not in the Superdome if he plays New Orleans. You don't like Drew Brees there, but the real question is San Francisco, because the 8-1, that one was a shellacking when they went up to Santa Clara, and that is the team I don't think they want to see.
Well, I mean, it's important for us to also stop looking at the Green Bay Packers in the same lens as we have for 15 years. We've always thought of the Green Bay Packers, oh, they get carried by Aaron Rodgers, and they're not really a good football team. They're a complete team. They can run the football. Their offensive line's outstanding. Their defense can play well. And to your point, Greeny, yeah, you want to have that great game in Green Bay. You want everyone to come to you. Aaron Rodgers is comfortable there. They know how it is to not only play there, but play playoff football there. And you want to force teams. That's a tough. I've played December football games there. That is a brutally tough place to play, not only because of the weather, but just the feel, the vibe, the crowd. And again, Rodgers knows how to handle that moment.
D-Wood, you said that these Packers could be a Super Bowl team if Rodgers really does get hot. How much confidence do you have, though, that he can do that, in your confidence in this team in the postseason?
Well, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about an all-time great of this generation. So it definitely can happen. But I'm just going back to the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers play bully ball. They can run. They're second league in rushing, and that front four can get after everyone. And they got the top-rated pass defense in the National Football League. So to Green's point, I don't think anyone really wants to see the 49ers in the postseason.
All right, so right now at the top of the NFC standings, you're looking at San Francisco, you're looking at New Orleans, you're looking at the Packers off their win last night, and then there's Seattle. They've got injury problems, and where are they going to try to address them?
This is interesting. Beast Mode, Greeny, has returned to Seattle. Our Adam Schefter reporting that the Seahawks have signed Marshawn Lynch for the remainder of the regular and postseason. Now, Lynch, of course, played 6 years with the Seahawks from 2010 to 2015, and he's one of the best running backs in Seahawks history. His 4 Pro Bowls are the most by any Seattle back in team history, and if Marshawn suits up for the playoffs, since 2010, no running back has rushed for more yards in the postseason than Lynch. So, Dan, they're obviously trying to find some magic here, signing Marshawn Lynch. What type of impact do you expect this to have for the Seahawks?
Well, he's not going to be the player he was years ago, but he's averaged over the last 2 years, he's averaged over 4 yards a carry. If Marshawn Lynch gives the Seattle Seahawks 4 yards a carry, they will be very glad with that, because that's who they want to be. They want to be a physical, kind of grind you out, smash mouth, stay committed to the run football team, and then take some shots downfield. So I don't expect Marshawn Lynch to recreate, beast mode or that quake run against the Saints. But if he gives them some viable carries, 10, 15 carries a game, and just the feel of him running the football, they'll be thankful for it. I don't necessarily think it matters that much, though. For me, the Seattle Seahawks are tied to 1, Russell Wilson, and 2, Jadeveon Clowney. If Jadeveon Clowney is not healthy, we can see as many beast quake runs that we want, but the Seattle Seahawks defense is not going to be good enough for them to get or make their run in the playoffs that they expect to. So Lynch will have an impact, but Clowney has to be healthy. Clowney on the field, not only in the pass game, but in the run game, is paramount for Seattle's defense.
Yeah, we should make it clear that Carson and Procise are hurt, and that's one of the reasons they desperately need this help. So these guys never come back and are as good as they used to be. It just never seems to go that way. But it's better than nothing, and right now what they have is practically nothing. So you can't question the decision to try and go for it. But as far as Seattle is concerned, they have the best quarterback. Russell Wilson has played the best of any quarterback in the NFC this year. Do they have enough around him to be a legit threat in the playoffs?
I don't think they do. as much of a magician as Russell Wilson, because he covers up a lot of flaws within that Seattle roster. I don't know if it's enough to overcome, New Orleans with their defense, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, or the San Francisco 49ers with, their defense and their rushing attack and how Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing. So, again, I'll never put anything against Russell Wilson, but boy, they have some holes on their team.
You know who they're going to miss? They are going to miss Josh Gordon. I know it sounds because he wasn't killing the stats. Josh Gordon was still a 6'3", 220-pound human that you had to pay attention to. Go watch the Arizona game. They could not throw the football down the field. They couldn't even stretch the field vertically in the pass game. So, to D. Wood's point, I think it's a lot to ask Russell Wilson to overcome.
All right, so those are the sort of the big contenders in the NFC, and then there's the division that someone has to win. Let's talk about the Eagles. Their postseason fate now finally in their hands after beating Dallas 17-9. A matchup with the Giants is all that stands between them and the NFC East title. A win over them or a Cowboys loss to Washington would lock up the playoffs for the Eagles. Let's take a look at the Eagles' FPI chances of winning the division. That's our analytics. They say Philly has a 73% chance to get in over Dallas. Dallas is still in play for the division crown. They need a win and a Philly loss to make the playoffs. And I have renamed the quarterback of the New York Giants for this week. He is no longer Danny Dimes. That's not telling the story. He's Danny Dollars.
Yes.
Dimes, not nearly enough. D. Wood, what do you see as we look at this thing? Oh, the delicious possibilities here. They both play in that 425 window, that NFC East battles. The Giants are playing pretty well of late. What chance do you give the Giants of spoiling the party against the banged-up Eagles?
Laura, I'm so glad I'm here today. I am so glad I'm here because if you thought I was going to completely jump off the Dallas bandwagon, no, you are mistaken right now. Listen, the way the Giants and the weapons that they have on offense, they can absolutely beat the Philadelphia Eagles. You're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles team. As great as Carson Wentz has played, this is still a depleted Philadelphia Eagles team. And you're going up against a New York Giants team with Danny Dollars out there, Saquon Barkley dropping dimes on people out there. This is a team that have nothing. They have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Nothing. Those are the scariest teams to play, especially the last game when everything is decided. I'm picking the Dallas Cowboys this morning.
You're going to take the Cowboys to win the division.
I'm picking the Dallas Cowboys.
Obviously I'm taking the Eagles.
We know you're taking the Eagles.
Going on the road will be difficult, but I'm hoping they get Lane Johnson back. And I'll say the same thing I said last week. I don't think that the coach and the quarterback are going to let them lose this game. I think that they're uber confident in themselves and the people around them. The defensive line for the Eagles has got to come into play because Daniel Jones, they scored 41 last week. Daniel Jones has been lighting it up, before he got injured and obviously coming back last week. If Lane Johnson comes back.
Well, are you going to go out and play receiver? Because now Ertz is injured.
I bet you he can get me 8 for 100 yards somehow. The quarterback would get me to play well. I think Greg Ward is starting to come, show himself a little bit. Dallas Goedert is playing well. Zach Ertz, I don't see any way Zach Ertz doesn't play this football game. I don't know him. I just know
the broken rib.
I think he'll play. He will find a way that Zach Ertz, he broke it in the first quarter. Within 5 minutes. He found a way to play that football game. Zach Ertz is going to play.
Lord, he's nervous.
I know.
I am
real
a little bit.
He's
a little bit.
Here's the thing.
A little bit.
If the Eagles don't win, it will. Obviously the game has yet to be played, but I wouldn't expect it to be because of the quarterback. The quarterback. I think he proved everything he needed to prove Sunday at home. All of the garbage bag stuff. All of that is justified.
Sure.
I guess if he goes out and plays terribly on Sunday, it would undo some of that. But the reality is, they're a shell of a football team. The Eagles have no one left on offense. The ultimate irony. Now Ertz goes down. They have nobody left.
But at least they know that. I know that, but they haven't had anybody for 6 weeks, and they found ways. And so they got to find a way. One more week, I believe Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz will get it done.
I like the smile on the face of Damian Woody, and I need to look into whether or not I can trademark Danny Dollars. In the meantime, let's talk about the team that might still edge them out.
Yeah, one of the biggest questions coming out of Dallas after the Cowboys' tough loss to those Eagles this Sunday is the future of head coach Jason Garrett. And despite the loss, The Cowboys, as we've just said, could still win the division with a win over the Redskins, paired with an Eagles loss to the Giants. So let's get more on everything going on in Dallas. Welcoming in our NFL insider, Dan Graziano. And Dan, what are you hearing about the future of Jason Garrett in Dallas?
Yeah, first, I just want to say, you could tell Orlovsky the Eagles are only using 10 guys this week, and he would still tell you why they're going to win the game because of how great the quarterback is. So, man, it's all in. Never have 17 points been more over-celebrated on a Monday morning. However, when we talk about the Cowboys, it's the same as it's been all year. Before the season started, Jason Garrett had to make a deep playoff run in order to save his job. That's still true, and mathematically, it's still possible. So if they were to win and the Eagles were to lose Sunday, then obviously they're not going to get rid of Jason Garrett in a week where they're preparing to play a playoff game. If those things don't happen, I would think you would expect the Cowboys to make a change at head coach, possibly or as early as next week, moving out Garrett and starting to interview people. But it's amazing how consistent this story has been since August, and it's still where it stood back then, except their record is terrible.
Dan, if they make a change, the Cowboys, who would they go to?
Well, that's the thing. We've heard, Urban Meyer connected as a person of interest there and other places, and it's possible they would explore that. The college ranks include Matt Rule at Baylor, who's a guy that I think a number of teams are interested in talking to. You look around the landscape at the Mike McCarthy, Ron Rivera types who have some experience, could fit there. It's a unique job. Whoever goes there, and we've talked about this as well, has to understand what the landscape is, how Jerry Jones is going to be out talking on the radio all the time and talking to media after games. And, you're going to want to just be the coach and not have to necessarily have the personnel control some of these guys might want to have. So it'll be interesting to watch. It should be, like I said, a unique opening.
Thanks, Dan Graziano, for joining us, and also thanks for the Dan on Dan crime there.
Yeah, Graziano, I know where you live, so be very careful.
Quite near each other, actually, for that matter. All right, so he threw a bunch of names in there that I find really interesting, and the first one he said is Matt Rule. Now, Matt Rule is a guy who was up for some NFL coaching jobs a year ago. The Jets wouldn't let him pick his own staff. Otherwise, he would have been the head coach of the Jets now. He did a really good job at Baylor this year. And in a recent interview, I liked what he said. He was like, look, I don't rule things out. He's not one of these phonies. So Matt Rule becomes a pretty intriguing possibility along with Lincoln Riley and Urban Meyer. Of those three college guys, do you see one of those guys wanting that job?
I think Matt Rule would probably be the highest of the list of wanting it for themselves. I would actually say that Lincoln Riley still probably isn't really considering it as much as people want him to. I mean, everyone wants to put Lincoln Riley on the Cowboys, and he just doesn't seem to me like a guy that wants to do that. I think he enjoys the college game, and I think he's still chasing that elusive national championship, which seems to be incredibly difficult to get. And then Urban Meyer, to me, Greeny, is such a wild card. I don't think it's realistic right now. I just think Urban's kind of listening to some of this. And Dan, he has the flexibility to listen right now. He's not doing anything else except broadcasting. He's not actually coaching. But I do think Matt Rule might be legitimately interested, and I think his personality fits well in the NFL with NFL players.
Yeah, I've long said if I was going to make a call to a college coach, the first call would be to Matt Rule. I've said that for about 2 years now. The second call would be to Lincoln Riley. And I know that we want to peg Lincoln Riley in there, but there is also some reasons. I believe he's from that area in some way, grew up a huge Cowboys fan. And I do, chasing that national championship. How likely are you to go get it at Oklahoma with all the teams that you have to play in the college football playoff? And the fact that I think this has been his best coaching year. I think that he has shown to be more than just an offensive mind. He has shown to have adaptability. He has shown to be able to be flexible. He's shown incredible leadership to get this football team back to the college football playoff. Also, different type of offenses. We saw one offense with Baker Mayfield. Then we saw another offense with Kyler Murray. And we've seen a totally different offense with Jalen Hurts. So there is the X's and O's mind there, as well as I do think that Lincoln Riley has taken a step forward in the ability to be the leader of an organization. And when your potential dream job presents itself, I think that's going to be very difficult to say no to.
Why do you think you would?
Well, I've been on the Matt Rule train. I was hyping Matt Rule for the Jets job, last year because the one thing about Matt Rule, he's a program builder. That's the one thing. He did it at Temple, turned him around quick, went to Baylor, had Baylor basically brought him from the brink of death to playing in the Big 12 championship game. So this guy knows how to build programs.
And a caveat with the Cowboys is, again, Dak Prescott has had his best year ever. And so if you decide to move on from Jason Garrett, do you keep Kellen Moore and John Kitna, who have had tremendous impact on Dak Prescott? Like, how does it all work out? Because the head coach you hired, does he want to keep those two guys to run his offense?
And oh, by the way, not mentioned practically in any of that is Urban Meyer, overwhelmingly the most successful of the group that we're talking about. As we continue on Get Up this morning, it has not been his best year, but Aaron Rodgers still keeps opposing coaches up at night. We will tell you and, more importantly, show you why that is.